We are on the public test server, and I am discussing 3 ships that Wargaming has allowed me to have early access with. I am not allowed to play it on stream, but I can talk about it. And the 3 ships that I'm going to talk about, the Tier 10 Italian DD, the Premium Tier 7 Italian DD, FR25, and then the Pan-American battleship Atlantico. Those are the 3 ships that we're going to discuss. So let's do it in the Philippines because I think that port looks beautiful. All right, so let's start lowest tier to highest tier. So first up, we've got the FR25. Now the FR25 is actually comparable to a German DD as well. What was it? It was Ernst, right? I think it's Ernst. We'll do that in Maas just to make sure. But the FR25, oh no, it's not the Germans. It's the French. It's based off of a French ship. All right, French DD, what tier is it? Guipard, there we go. That's the one it's off of. All right, so the FR25 is going to be a premium tier 7 Italian DD that will be available at some point during the release of the Italian DD line. The Italian DD line is going to start early access, I want to say probably 11.1 or 11. And it's a line that primarily specializes in sap burst damage with guns. Unlike the Paulo Emilio, the gun system is where your bread is buttered, and the torpedo systems are more of a chip damage tool, where it's basically reverse. Paulo Emilio, the torpedoes are where you get all your kills, and the gun systems are just chip damage. So on the FR25, we have 16mm bow and stern, with the top of the deck and the hull also 16mm in the top of the hull. Itself 11. If we take a look at the ship that it's based off of, we'll see that, you know, it's exactly what we would expect it to be, armor-wise. It actually looks like the superstructure has less armor, if I'm plotting this correctly. No, it's the same armor. So 10 and 16. It doesn't have a citadel because obviously it's a DD. It has 19,000 hit points, whereas Guipard would have 17,000. So they expect it to take more damage, definitely. The gun system is 5x1, 139. 139 is the French caliber, so it makes sense. Because it's a French caliber, it's not really going to follow like your traditional SAP, HE, AP rule set. So the FR25 gun system is 5x1, 139. 12.7 is the gun range, whereas 13 is the French. And, you know, it's not really a big downside. There isn't any downside. The gun reload, it's slower, it looks like, by a second. Yeah, slower by 1 second. The maximum dispersion is almost identical. I think it is identical. The only thing different is the equipment. Torpedo systems. These are long-range, slow torpedoes. Actually, these are short-range, fast torpedoes. That's a weird matchup. Maybe they wanted to make the Tier 7 Premium feel different. And in that way, it's the French torpedo system. Depth charge, you're familiar with. AA is short-range. But, you know, it's basically the same system as the Guipard. So your AA effectively isn't going to be very different. Speed is fast. It is it's about the same speed. And its rudder is about the same reaction. So it's basically a Guipard with SAP. That's pretty much what they're offering here. Everything else seems to be identical, other than the fact that it has SAP as the equipment option. which, you know, SAP is going to be a really bursty shell type. 39 millimeters of armor penetration, 2,700 per shell. What that will end up being is it's going to be roughly about 800 damage. Yeah, about 800 damage per salvo of this shell. So every single gun has a potential to inflict 800 damage on the target every 6 seconds. There's 5 of them. So yeah, that's going to be real bursty. You could basically kill any DD of equal tier in 3 gun salvos. So that's 18 seconds. If you get an ideal ratio, obviously. It has the emergency exhaust smoke, which is going to be vital in the playstyle of the French DDs. It's going to actively conceal, and when it actively conceals, you'll need to memorize the gun range when firing. All the spam. But you'll need to memorize the gun range when firing. It looks like the gun range when you're firing your gun is 2.9 kilometers. So as long as you are at least 2.9 kilometers from your next closest target, you could very easily activate the exhaust smoke, ambush them with both your torpedoes and your sap, and chunk them quickly and kill them before like detection is an issue, or even as you're not detected. With that being said, with exhaust smoke, it will envelop you in a cloud of smoke, which is really bad if you're the only person spotting. You basically will be blind. So if you misclick in this line, it could be the difference between you dying a horrible, embarrassing death and you looking like the best player on the team. So it's going to be very fascinating to have that French DD line utilizing exhaust smoke. Exhaust smoke, of course, has been in the Italian cruiser and the Italian battleship line for however long, you know, at least 2 years. This is really the time for it to shine, though, on the Italian DDs. Now, let's move up to the Atlantico. The Atlantico is a Tier 8 Pan-American battleship. It is from the British Empire, I believe, and these guns look absolutely insanely ridiculous. What am I looking at? I'm looking at 234 millimeter secondary guns, 12.5 second gun reload. This ship looks absolutely ridiculous. Oh my god, I need to own this ship right now. I love it. This is going to be an insane secondary ship. 39 millimeters of high explosive penetration. Oh, that's great. Let's take a look at the armor. Now, the Atlantico has 32 millimeter bow and stern. It is a Tier 8, which is nice. Midship, it has, wow, at the top of the deck, it has 100 and, well, at the top of the deck, it has 51. The interesting thing is there's kind of a shot trap effect going on here. Because there is so much extra reinforcement for these giant secondary turrets, each of these giant secondary turrets basically absorbs the shell and doesn't allow it to overpin, because they're just so large that if the shell were to bounce, it would bounce into like another armor section. So this could actually work against it in damage absorption. But let's look at the armor. It has 51 millimeter deck armor. At the back, it has 19 millimeter superstructure deck armor, which they're kind of saying it's superstructure, but it looks like the rest of the deck, whatever. The side has 152. The armor belt is 305, with 356 being the extra bit. It has a type of turtleback. I'm not quite sure on how effective that turtleback is right now. It's pretty flat, so I would say maybe medium to long range, you might be able to punch in. Man, this ship looks so silly looking. Love it. Absolutely love it. The base detection is 14.2. The air detection is 11.1, so it'll be easily spotted. So yeah, the HE shell on the secondaries is, God, I hate all this spam. Recruitment spam, recruitment spam, recruitment spam, recruitment spam. But anyway, it has a gun reload of 12.5 seconds on the secondary. Let's build it for a secondary just to see what we can do. Okay, obviously equip it with damage control system mod. Obviously we're gonna get secondary gun range. We're gonna have steering gear. Concealment system, of course. Because obviously secondary, we're going to equip it with secondary gun range. Let's see here. Let's make sure the commander is fully armed and operational. All right, the secondary gun range is 11.3 right now with this build. Not bad at all. Unfortunately, I cannot play this on stream with you guys. I have to just talk about what I see. 21% fire chance on these shells. Wow. Gun reload right now is 10.7. I wonder if you would go, well, you can't go a gun reload here. Okay, so this is pretty much what you have to live with as a tier 8. Maybe a tier 10 you could get better secondary gun reload, but you can't. So yeah, these guns fire once every 10.7 seconds on the secondaries. It's got 39 millimeters of penetration on these guys. Look at how big these things are. God. It'll look so awesome. Yeah, this will melt cruisers. Wow. With 39 millimeters of penetration base, it's going to do so much damage. Gun velocity is pretty good at 881. It's actually got a straighter shot compared to the 127s. So, you know, it's where you want it to be. The 127 is going to arc onto the enemy ship and it'll come crashing down on the top. Hopefully it'll hit the superstructure. Hopefully it'll hit a light portion of the deck. The 234 will be straighter and will be more likely to hit the side of the hull because of the gun velocity being so much faster than the 127. So the shells from this might look like they're like almost deliberately targeting two separate systems at the same time, which is very exciting if you're into secondary battleship play, because it does offer that like uniqueness. For the main armament, it's 281. It's 381. It's British. It only has armor piercing on its main battery, so you cannot even attempt to load high explosive on your main battery. That is clearly going to be the most limiting effect from this line, or even this ship itself. So players will have to be very comfortable with AP, but you know, you can locate it on the superstructure. It's not a huge deal that it doesn't come default equipped with high explosive. The range on the airstrike is 10 kilometers, which is great. It does come with hydroacoustic, so it will feel comfortable around enemies. Its heel is not British heel, but it's a battleship heel. Yeah, it's my cats. Let's see. Who is this supposed to be? Aha! It's the Brazilian Navy. Very nice. Very, very nice. We will equip that. Can we equip that? No, we can't. But the Brazilian Navy, the Atlantico, very cool. Very excited for this ship. I can't wait to see how it plays. I am so fascinated by this super large secondary gun caliber. I wonder if this will inform the line to come. We'll see on that one, of course. But I can't wait to see what this ship is whenever it is. The concealment with my build is 12.8, which is, you know, pretty good actually for getting into secondary. You only have about 1.5 kilometers where you don't have secondaries firing. So yeah, I like it. And that's not even a full conceal build. I could drop fire prevention and go concealment, and then I would just be 1-to-1 with my secondaries. So that's good. The speed of the ship is 25 knots. It's a little slow for tier 8. It's not unmanageable, but it is a little slow for tier 8. All right. So, the big one. The one ship that I care the most about. I can't even deny it. This is the tier 10 Italian DD. And the full name is Attilio Regolo. This is a Italian DD that supposedly entered service in 1942. 12 were completed. And it was initially classified as a light cruiser. So it must have been upgraded to a DD classification because of maybe the armament or its size or something like that. It obviously looks very big for a DD, but it is loaded down. It is so loaded down with equipment. Let's take a look at the health and the armor. Now, it comes with 19mm hull with a 13mm superstructure. And the guns have 30mm all around, so they're pretty well defended from incidental, but big battleship caliber or big supercruiser caliber won't really care too much about that. It doesn't have a citadel, thank God, because it's so big. It's a very big ship. That's what she said, but that's okay. As far as the health is concerned, 26,800. It is going to be in the same ballpark as the Ragnar for the artillery. It has 8 135mm guns on 4 gun turrets, 2 in the front, 2 in the rear. It has a maximum firing range of 8.5 kilometers. But the reason the gun range is so shallow is because of those secondary guns. These guns fire every 5 seconds. The secondary guns do, the sap shell does 3,050 damage, which would translate into roughly 915 damage per shell. So 900 times 8 times every 5 seconds, that's a really, really high amount of damage. This is probably going to have the single largest broadside in a DD in the game. It's going to be so bursty and so terrifying that you are not going to want to do anything with this thing. If this ambushes you, you're going to pray to whoever's out there that he doesn't have the right angle, because if he gets the right angle, it's like 7,000 just taken off instantly. That's terrifying. These are definitely going to be gun system intimidation. But 8.5, that is a huge limiting factor. The torpedo systems don't have that limiting range factor. They actually go 13.5 kilometers, which is a miracle considering the guns. I'm actually confused exactly where the torpedoes are located on this ship. Aha! They are underneath the deck. They're all hidden from view. I wonder if that's limiting the torpedo arc, because the torpedoes you can't actually... What's interesting is you can't hit them from air, so they might be almost immune to air incapacitation. I'm not quite sure on that. But these torpedoes are tucked away in between. They go super slow, so they're really just there to sort of fill the area. It has depth charges, and I assume the depth charges are on the back of the ship. Yeah, they are. There's depth charges right there. You know, depth charges are nice. The sap, if you ever hit a DD, a submarine, you basically will kill the submarine in two salvos. It's that scary. AA defense, 3.7. Very, very unimpressed by the AA. There's no flak damage whatsoever. It's all continuous. This is horrible against large aircraft squadrons. This is a terrible ship for that. It's also big as hell. This is going to hate the carrier. Hate it. For maneuverability, 41 knots is really nice. Base, very fast. 770 meters. You know, it's average for its size and speed. Rudder shift 5.7 base. Okay. The concealment is 9.7. Now let's equip it with what I would envision would be the build. So I'm going to get gun incapacitation protection. We're going to get, if I was playing this, I would take emergency boost, I think, because I will have last stand. Last stand will get me out of jail, and having the emergency boost available for a longer duration will save my bacon. I do think that, you know, you're going to need this to maybe even approach a target, even. We're going to go gun accuracy. Of course, we're going to go gun accuracy. It's all about the guns. 73 dispersion. Very accurate guns. We're going to go propulsion modification because that's what DDs do. We're going to go concealment. And we're going to go for gun. Well, let's just make sure that the gun traversal, 18 seconds. Okay, so it is very slow. But I mean, you gotta go gun reload, right? You can't go gun range, by the way. This is one thing that we were speculating on prior to the line being released. And the speculation was, would Wargaming introduce the range main battery equipment as an option? Clearly, they have chosen not to. Clearly, that is not an option. So what you're left with is that 8.5 range. Now, you can extend it out, and it seems that their recommended build does indeed encourage you to do that. If you extend it out, that brings the gun reload to 4.2, the gun range to 10.2, and, you know, honestly, this guy would combo very well with the Italian unique commander, that legendary commander, Luigi, because he would obviously give you range on your guns. Man, that's a tough sell. It means you can't take concealment, but if you pop your smoke, you can hide in your smoke, which is interesting. You know, for me, my build would probably look something like this. So I would prefer to be on the other side. I would prefer to ambush, get close, knock him out quickly, and, you know, manipulate the map that way. That does only lead about 1 kilometer. But think about this. If you were to play this ship this way, 7.4 concealment being like the max concealment, remember, your detection only blooms up to the maximum gun range. So this ship will only ever be detected by anything that is within 8.5 kilometers and in line of sight. There's probably only going to be 1 or 2 ship at any given moment that would actually be that close to you. Any other ship outside of that range, you would instantly drop off detection because there's nothing blooming your gun out. So this is going to be a completely different line experience than that of any of the ships that we have right now. You can kind of get this experience by refusing to upgrade as you go. But there is nothing quite like having only 8.5 kilometer range on your guns and having to drive up to players at point blank. I think that for domination and rank battles, this might be a legendarily overpowered ship. But in like clan and rank, random battles, standard battle, this might be a really crappy ship because you might never actually get in range of anyone to do anything. And when you actually do, the game might be over. So that's the real problem I see with the lack of range, is you just can't affect the map that much. You know, you'll go over here, you'll kill a DD on this side. Oh, well, now you have to drive all the way to the other side of the map just to affect that map. Yeah, you could send your torpedoes, which have great range, but they're so slow in the water, it's like basically a luck whether you land them on a target or not. I just want to take a look, one final look at any of the equipment. Now you can get up to 7 charges on your equipment, which is very nice. That means you can be very aggressive with exhaust smoke generator and comboing it with your damage output, which, you know, that's really going to be bread and butter for this. You're going to approach a situation You might be approaching with another DD or something else that's spotting for you. You'll activate your smoke, and the target will basically be dead because they will not be able to detect you unless they are within 3.7, right? 3.7 of your ship. So anything from 8.5 to 3.7 is basically 100% going to take damage, and you will not be threatened by them at all. Very, very interesting line. Very fascinating. The line itself is evolving range. I think early on in the line, there was like a maximum range of like 6.5 kilometer. We will really have to see through testing if this archetype can work. I've played a similar playstyle to this. They basically tested this ship 2 years ago under the guise of a tier 10 Paulo Emilio, and it had like 10 kilometer, 10.5 kilometer gun range, and it was regularly getting 150 and 200,000 damage per game. That's obviously not balanced, so we don't want to return to that, but this is going to be a completely different DD leader class introduced in the game. I think people are going to really enjoy the Italians. And, you know, you might say, oh, well, SAP is intimidating. Well, yes, but you can angle against it. And that's the only thing that keeps it from being overpowered. But these guys, they're going to do some legendary alpha, and I can't wait to experience them. Thank you so much for, you know, watching the preview. I am not able to play these on stream yet. We'll have to wait a couple patches in order to do that. As it stands right now, you know, I think they look cool. I can't wait to play them, and yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited for the Atlantico. I love secondary ships. That ship is so weird, and I'm definitely excited for the Italian line. It looks fantastic.